cereal. And they said, oh, yeah, we leave it unlocked for her. That's where she sleeps. Like it was super casual.
Oh, man. Too funny. Hey, Tom, how are you?
How you doing,
There
Dennis?
you are.
How you doing, Dennis?
Doing good. All right. We have Holly on here from White's Farm
Perfect.
and Brady, who works at the university. And hopefully, we'll get a good crowd.
All right.
Yeah, I
Hi,
think
Holly.
Hey, sir, how are you doing?
I'm good.
she was just talking about calling on businesses in West Virginia as part of her territory. She covers several states, including West Virginia. So we were just talking about West Virginia stories. And Mark's roommate from college, a guy named Ed Poff, I don't know if you ever met him, but he was assigned by AT&T to West Virginia when he graduated. And he just had the most hysterical stories about driving down these back roads and going around a curve, and there'd be a dead body laying in the middle of the road. And people told him, oh, just push it over to the side. It's no big deal.
Yeah, just leave it.
Yeah, just don't run over it, but push it over to the side, and don't worry, it'll be okay.
I mean, it's called Wonderful Wild West Virginia for a reason, guys. I'm just gonna tell you.
Well, one of my best friends in high school ended up going to school in West Virginia, so I got a real dose of West Virginia. One of the all-time stories, and this is not the time to tell crazy stories, but this guy was truly spectacular. So the first thing he did is he stole a road grader from the West Virginia Department of Transportation that was on the side of the road. He jump-started it, and he drove it through campus, scraping up all the speed bumps with the road grader. So then he left the road grader and ran away. And the next day, they have a racetrack in this town, Charlestown Racetrack, and he appeared at the starting gate completely naked, except for a cape that said "Bet to Show." And he started running when the horses took off, and all the policemen were trying to chase him. He was a wide receiver on the football team, so no one could catch him. But he was running all around this place with no clothes on with this cape. So West Virginia is just different.
What was the cape? What was the purpose of the cape?
The cape was just bet to show. He was, like when you go to the racetrack and you bet on, win, place, or show. And he decided bet to show. And, he's crazy. And but no one caught. All the cops were exhausted trying to catch him. He was just sprinting and, on this big racetrack. And they never did catch him, to my knowledge. But he did a lot of crazy stuff. So, all right. Well, hopefully that didn't scare everyone off.
So you've had these mentor talks already this year?
Yeah, we've had quite a few actually.
Okay.
The last one we had was actually not quite a mentor talk, but we had the former CEO of Etsy came on, and he was really good. He happens to be from Greenville, where ECU is headquartered, although he went to Duke. He was great. He did a really good job of, he was an English major, and he graduated from Duke and got a job delivering pizzas because he didn't want to teach and he couldn't find a job.
Wow.
So pretty interesting story, but he took Etsy from 7 million in revenue to 440 million in about a 8-year period. So we had some great war stories to tell, and also advice, given his background of being an English major and getting into technology and kind of the things he learned. A lot about managing people. That he had a lot to say about that. That to him was the most challenging thing of the job, was to deal with employees and people and stuff. So, I thought that was pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah. So folks are coming on here. We can wait a couple more minutes. Hey Sawyer, how you doing today? So Sawyer has a supplement business, and he does workout videos, and he sells workout related clothes. And so he's doing pretty well. And White's Farm we have here, Holly, is a pretty big farm, not too far from Greenville, that sells strawberries and is looking to get into agritourism, where they put up events and things for for people to come check out. Hey Darby, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good, thanks. Darby and his wife have I don't know how many many square foot maker space, which has CNC machines, woodworking, metalworking, so people can come in and build stuff, prototypes or things that they want to do. That's what his business is all about.
Cool.
So yeah, so I think we can go ahead and get started, and folks may be come and go, but I think now's a good time to go.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I don't have an hour's worth of lecturing to do, so hopefully it can be a little bit interactive.
Yeah.
But when Dennis asked me, I guess the first request was talk about taking your business international, which I thought it might be a little boring for this crowd. So I suggested instead, we talk about something very fundamental, which is why. Why has this group decided to do the business that they're in? How important the why question is, and the success of your business. And I ask everybody to see a video beforehand, which I'm hoping people got to do. If you didn't, it's worth it. There's a link on the Slack page to the Simon Sinek video. It's funny, I've read, I think, every single book that he's written. He's got one called Leaders Eat Last, one called Find Your Why. He's one of those thought leaders that have been important in sort of me coming up with a business philosophy, and both for the businesses I was in, which I'll talk about, and then deciding to invest. His name is pronounced Cynic. He's the least cynical person I think I've ever heard. So it's a little bit of an irony. But what he talks about is people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And the golden circle of his is that the most important thing to decide in planning your business is what he calls the fuzzy things, which are your motivation, what's going to make you get up in the morning and really enjoy the business that you're starting. How do you attract other people to join you? Otherwise, you won't go very far. They say if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with the group. So you're going to have to ultimately attract people to your vision and mission, and that's the only way you're going to be able to grow. So I think what I have learned in my 40 years of business now is,
wow, 40 years.
I know, it's
Whoa.
shocking. I know. Yeah, I'm dating myself, but I think that there are 5 keys to being a successful startup, and I'm just going to kind of go through them. There obviously has to be a market for what you're trying to sell. You could have a fantastic idea, do it really well, but if nobody wants to buy it, it's not going to be a successful business. And then we all have examples of what products people want to buy. I mean, we've got on this phone, we've got somebody selling food. Everybody wants to buy food. We've got Darby custom woodwork. People want that. There are very few visionaries who can totally invent a product. I still laugh about the pet rock, and I'm dating myself there too. Is somebody came up with this idea: you buy a pet rock, you'd draw a face on it, and people would pay $10, and that went well for a while, but ultimately it just died as a fad, and not enough people wanted to own pet rocks. Steve Jobs invented a whole different type of computer. The Mac. He invented the iPod. He was one of those people who could envision a market that didn't already exist. But that's very rare. I think the first key to being successful in business is selling something that people want, whether it's your services or your products. And you guys have chosen that. I'm sure you've done your market research and figured out what the demand is. And the first question every investor asks is, what's the addressable market for what you're trying to do? So you need to sort of know, who's out there doing it already, what's the revenue potential for what you're trying to sell. That is a fundamental building block for how to do a successful startup. Then I think you have to have some advantage in that market. What's something that you do is unique. Either it's a better product or service, it's done in a different way. One of the folks I think in the group was doing the shift online auto repair. So everybody does auto repair, but you approach it in a different way, make it easier. So what is your advantage in the market that you're trying to address? Or can you do it more efficiently? Is there something that's unique to you in that market that's going to resonate with buyers and resonate with investors? The third, I think, key to success is your advantage sustainable? So come up with a new idea, address the market really well, but if it can be copied, then you're not going to have a very strong growth story or a strong growth prospect, because somebody else will come and do it, and you created an idea in the market, people like it, but it'll be copied. So what's sustainable about your advantage in your market? It can be intellectual property, it can be scale. If you get big enough, it's very tough for others to compete with you. Google, a lot of hotel companies are like that. They've got a brand. It's hard for a startup to come and attack the advantage that they've built. It could be management and talent. It could be that you've got a unique group of people with you that bring something special to that business that gives you a sustainable advantage. So you got to have a market. You've got to have something unique about you and what you're doing that addresses that market, and it has to be sustainable. Those are the first sort of three must-haves in any business startup. And then the fourth one for me is the why. It's the passion that you bring to the business. What got you into this idea? And Cynic calls it your origin story. In every investor meeting I've been in, that's one of the things I look to. Why are you in this business? What resonates for you? It can be something in your family that you experienced that you wanted to make better, and I'll come on to the Sunrise case study in a minute. But because you're going to run into tons of obstacles, you don't even know what they are yet, but there will be many of them. That if you get discouraged and go away easily, you will. So there has to be something motivating you to stay in this business, to go through the obstacles that make you in it for the long haul. And that's passion or your why. And you attract people with that vision and your why. And if it resonates for you, if it's real, it'll come through, and you'll find enough other believers that will join you, and then you'll have a strong team. It's not your strategy, it's not your tactics, it's your motivation, your drive, your desire that are that critical fourth part of the business building blocks. I mean, the Calvin Coolidge quote is, "Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent." And I think that comes from your why. What is the reason you got in this business? And making money is not enough why. There are a lot of ways to make money, and also being your own boss is not enough why. I think there's a lot of people who do startups, I'm going to get rich with this. I'm tired of doing a 9-to-5 job. I want to be independent, my own boss. And that's not going to carry you through the tough times. That won't allow you to overcome these obstacles, which are going to happen to you. So it's got to be something deeper inside of you that's driving you to do this particular business that you picked. And that will be, I think, the most important. And I agree with Simon Sinek when he says that ought to be first. Even before, do you have a market? Do you have a sustainable advantage of the market? Can you have something unique to approach it? So it's the why. I think the fifth, and I won't talk about this could be a whole separate hour conversation, is execution. So you can have a great, big, giant market to address. You can have something unique that'll set you aside in that market. You can have that be sustainable. You can have even a great why. But if you can't deliver on a day in, day out basis, then it's going to fail. Some people call that culture, mission, values. It's hiring people who believe what you believe. If you hire somebody for their beliefs, they're going to, and they resonate with you and yours with them, they'll stick with you. You know, they won't leave for the extra $1 an hour on the paycheck. They'll be the ones waking up in the middle of the night worrying about your business and whether you can deliver what you promised to deliver. So execution is a whole nother topic, but you have to have it to have a successful startup. So I think the Sunrise case study, you know, I was there for 14 years, and the original vision of Sunrise by the Clausens, who were the founders, was to come up with a modern alternative to the traditional nursing home. So those of you who have been in a nursing home, you know, they've gotten a little better now, but they were created in the 30s when the government decided in its wisdom in the Depression to do Medicare. But they made a decision that they would reimburse nursing care long-term only if it was in a nursing home. So prior to that, seniors were cared for in their, you know, families' homes, or that people lived in a community, and there wasn't a need for this. But as remember in 1900, the average life expectancy was 50. So now you're in the 60s, life expectancy's grown. We have to provide care to the seniors. We want to pay for it by the government. And so they decided you have to move to a nursing home. And there was limited money, and there wasn't any passion in the people who had decided to run these nursing homes. And they were awful. I mean, they were smelly, very institutional, 2 to a room, tile floors, fluorescent lights, just a really, really bad product. And so in 1981, so this is, you know, 20, 40, 50 years later, there's a lot of examples of really poor ones. And the Clausens and a couple others thought they had a better way. And the origin of that was that Terry Clausen had her mother in one of those old stinky nursing homes in Virginia, and there was no alternative. And so she started asking questions. Why can't something be done that's better? And Paul, who was the other founder, was Dutch and had seen in Holland these very small, they were called assisted living homes. And so they thought of the idea of doing a modern alternative, very residential, you know, soft finishes, carers and nurses. They did a couple focus groups, and nobody liked the idea. I mean, nobody had ever seen one. You know, what's assisted living? It's something brand new. So there's an example of literally creating a product that didn't exist. And they and a few other pioneers started building these, you know, small assisted living homes as an alternative to nursing. The Clausens bought one in Oakton, Virginia, and they moved in themselves. So it was an old house. They figured out how to get a license. They, you know, changed the bedpans and the diapers and, you know, all the hard work that you needed to do. And they became evangelists for this concept called assisted living. And their slogan was "Change the way America ages." Now, it was a great why. It was super easy to understand. We have seniors who we love and want to give respect to. We've got an awful product for them now. You know, their why was to change the way America ages. There was a clear market demand. The demographics were pretty stunning of the aging of America. They had a very unique product, which was this sort of Victorian mansion style assisted living home. It was sustainable, although the competition did come in a big way, which I'll talk about. But they had a brand, they had scale, they were first mover to the market in Virginia. They had a fantastic why, which resonated with everybody who thought about working there, or the investor who thought about putting money in, and they were pretty good at execution. So from 1981 to 1990, they were only able to do 9 homes. It was tough to raise the money. It was tough to find people to, sort of support them in the business. I met them in 1990, so there were 9 sunrises, and I was blown away. So at that point, I was a managing partner of a law firm, 13 years as a lawyer, but I was like a lightning bolt when I walked into the first sunrise that I saw. This is a great idea, and I want to try to help make this happen. Everybody, I think, wants to be part of something bigger than themselves. And so I wasn't the visionary, but I was in on the execution part and totally adapted the why. And many others joined. We started raising money. So a couple private placements. All you guys are going to go through this. I'm sure there's a topic on how to raise money and what the pitch book ought to look like that you're going to have. But we definitely started with the why. We would have pictures in the first several pages of what the sunrises look like, explained the vision of this new product called assisted living. For the next 6 years, there were several others built, a couple of acquisitions turned into sunrises. So by 1995, I had now come in full time, and we did a public offering, which was very successful, just to raise money to grow. So at that point, Sunrise became a national company. We opened development, offices in New England and the West Coast and down in the South, and grew pretty big from the time of the IPO to 2002. What happened after the Sunrise IPO was a bunch of other people got into this business, but it was for no why. So you'd see house builders, they actually build houses. These are not anything really more than big houses. And this is a phenomenal product and it's having success. So we're going to jump in and we're going to build assisted living homes, and without any real healthcare background or frankly, any real why for getting into the business. So you had house builders, real estate developers. And then I think the mistakes began to be made in a big way for assisted living. So it's hard to do real nursing care. And so people saw the pretty buildings and thought, we won't do hardly any care. We'll have very light care. We won't get a nursing license. We won't be prepared to do end of life. It'll just be this interim step for people when they get a little older and they need help with eating, dressing, bathing. But we don't want to do the nursing care. So they did assisted living light. And a lot of those were built from the Sunrise IPO in 1996 to 2002. There were 16 public assisted living companies. Now there's 2. So what happened was the assisted living light people, when the first crash came, and it happened around 2000. So I'd say that I've lived through 4 once in a lifetime real estate crashes, and they keep recurring. So there was 82, 1990, and then 2000. The dot-com era busted, money sort of dried up for almost everything. And a lot of these assisted living light people couldn't get funding anymore, and they stopped growing. And then there started to be negative media about the care that was being provided to in these assisted living homes. So it's sort of the first blowout was 2000. In 2002, Sunrise bought Marriott Senior Living. I could argue that there was no why for them getting in senior living. The great hotel company, Bill Marriott, was on our board at Sunrise. One of the smartest, most genuine, impressive people that I've ever seen in business. They decided to get out because it was damaging their hotel brand. They had somebody was wheeled out in a courtyard and left in the sun and died of sunburn. And that, of course, hit the media, and Marriott said, we're out. Sunrise acquired Marriott. So grew through that. And by 2008, there were 450 Sunrises in 4 different countries. and we had 50,000 employees. So this is the germ of this why, and a really good idea executed well, grew a phenomenal company. The problem, I think, along the way, we lost our why. So I look back, it's a little bit of a cautionary tale that you began to believe that growth in and of itself is good because what we do is so special and so helpful that everybody's going to want it. And people in Germany will want the same thing as people in America. So I think we grew too fast, too many acquisitions instead of just by development of the product that we did really well. And so it ended up crashing. The stock price crashed in 2008. I had left at the end of 2007 for lots of reasons I won't go into, but I'm sorry?
Sorry, the dog was bothering me. I forgot I was unmuted. Sorry.
No worries, Dennis. You've heard this whole story before anyway. But I love the industry still. So when after I left Sunrise was do something similar in the UK. So an untapped market there, learned some lessons, kept it pretty small. We've got 13 homes in the UK, nursing, assisted living, full on, and they've been pretty successful. So I think, and raising capital in the UK has been similar in the sense we start with the why. You know, we had in the UK a very underserved market with very poor product, and it resonates to bring in something better for seniors. So the why was the story. So when personal angel investing, which may be more relevant to you than my long Sunrise story, is I want to hear the why when I'm being pitched. If I don't hear it in the first 3 or 4 slides, I'll ask, tell me why you got into this business. Tell me, what motivates you to continue. If I give you money, I want to know you're going to be in it, through the ups and downs that inevitably come. So start with your why. When you do your pitch books and your slideshows, get there fast. If you have a personal experience story, tell that story. Tell it right away. I'm in this business because XYZ happened to me or my family, or I saw it, and I wanted to make a difference in this market, and it has to be real. If it's not, it'll come out that it's not, and you'll get ultimately into the roadblock, and you'll either stop your startup or go to work for somebody or do it where money may be easier to make. So I guess I'll end, and I'm hoping there's lots of questions, or I'll start asking you guys. So how do you turn your why into a business? Flip the circle. Do what Simon Sinek said in the video. Start with the why. Craft your origin story and tell it. And tell it over and over. Tell it to everybody who thinks about investing in your company. Tell it to all your employees. Draft some mission, vision, value language about it that tracks back to your why. How? So then you go, it's why, then how. So understand your market, really know your competitors. Don't fall into a trap of arrogance that your product is so good that nobody competes with you. And there's always competition. And if people come in and say, well, there's really no competition, I just shake my head. Because I know there is, and if you don't know your competition, then you're going to get beat. Somebody's going to come up with something better, and so know your market, know your competition. And then what? So be flexible. There are so many stories, and Apple is one of them. Of there was a why, but the product changed a ton of different times, and new products come up. I mean, who would have thought that Apple would have a phone? So if you tracking your motivation, your why, be flexible on everything else. So your strategy, your tactics, all that can change. The Sunrise product evolved from the core sort of 60 unit, mansion kind of model to just dementia care or condos, or the making the world a better place for seniors, changing the way America ages. That was the why. The how was it changed. We were relatively flexible. Each market was a little different. So be flexible. Make it sustainable. And not every business is different. Not everyone has technology that they can patent. And so how are you going to be creative in making your business sustainable? Getting a good brand and building that is helpful. Attracting great talent is very helpful. The processes that you have could provide a sustainable advantage. Good marketing, all that's necessary. And then, finally on the execution, you need to attract great people. They will be attracted to your culture. You're not going to be able to win in business by just trying to be the one who pays the extra $1 an hour. Somebody will always come pay it to them more. So this whole second paycheck idea, what do they get out of working for your business? They hopefully get that feeling of being part of something bigger than themselves, and they will resonate with that. They'll be loyal to that, and they'll stay with you through thick and thin. Okay, that's my little origin story.
Well, thank you, Tom. I want to just throw a couple things out. So we've been talking in the class about brand positioning and figuring out, why you're doing this and getting that message so that everybody in your organization, yourself and everyone that's associated with you, basically understands and says the same thing, so that there's a clear single, it doesn't have to be a single purpose, but the main purpose has to be clear as to why people are doing it. I think also just a couple more pieces of information about Tom that I think will help you. So these companies that were in our group, and there will be quite a few more that will be watching this as a recording because of their work schedule and other things. But Tom, kind of understated the fact that he was an attorney. I've talked about the importance of having, a quality team of advisors. And in my experience over the years, when I first met Tom, was just a fantastic lawyer and a real good deal guy. He was really good at sitting at the table and thinking through not only how to get in the deal, but what would it be involved to get out of the deal, and what about exits, and all of the things that you expect your attorney to know. Tom was particularly good at that, and he also was managing director of one of the largest and most successful law firms in the DC area as well. And so he figured out a way to help people both in his legal business, and then as he got Sunrise as a client, he was able to jump on board with them. He helped them as their lawyer for several years, and then ended up becoming the president and the COO of the company. One last thing about Sunrise, because it's not well known in this area, but one of the things that they did that I remember, and Tom, correct me if I'm going down the wrong path, the Sunrise facilities were just so cool. I mean, they were very homey. They had porches, they had rocking chairs in front. They were in neighborhoods. They weren't at that time, they weren't spread out in industrial areas or whatever. They really were part of the community, and they looked like, to me, they looked like a really nice place to live. And people, it really caught everyone's eye. And that product quality, that presentation, I think, also went a long way toward getting people to think, where they might not have thought of putting, an aging mother or father into a nursing home. When they saw the Sunrise Living approach, I think it became a lot more palatable and more something that was actually aspirational as opposed to negative. So I don't know, Tom, if I'm saying that correctly.
That was our pitch was, we were going to have the best product. And I still remember, I think our best marketing ad we ever did was, it was a black and white photo of a woman in a pillbox hat standing in front of an old Buick. And the tagline was just because she wanted the best for you. So, you know, we went at that. I mean, and we felt a little guilty about just being a product for wealthy people. And we assuaged that guilt by thinking we were going to raise the tide and raise all the boats. And I think because of the Sunrise super luxury product, everybody upped their game. And now assisted living is, you know, there are probably more assisted living homes, like I know there are, than nursing homes. So it was a massive sea change for the whole industry. And to have a product like that compared to what there used to be, you know, we're all who were involved in that pretty proud of sort of the revolution that came. But you know, advisors, massively important. They have to be comfortable. There has to be good chemistry. Your lawyer, banker, advisor, you know, advisory board. I've been on a bunch of them. I find them pretty fulfilling. You know, you don't really get paid much, if anything, but it's a way for old dudes like me to give back a bit. And you can usually find, you know, somebody who, if you have a good why, and you can explain your story, you know, you can find people to join you and be mentors and give you advice along the way. And I think that's important.
Okay. Does anybody in the group, you know, have questions for Tom, whether it's his experience in building kind of a sea change product and service, or also on his role as an investor, angel investor, board advisor? Let me ask you, Taylor, if you have anything that it strikes you about.
Yeah, well, thank you, Tom, for coming on and sharing your story. It was really cool to hear. My great-grandmother actually stayed in a Sunrise retirement home, or assisted living.
Where, Taylor? Where?
In Winston-Salem.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm from Winston-Salem originally, so very cool. I know whenever we took her there, she really enjoyed it, and I think I can definitely attest from someone who went and visited her a lot that it definitely was a lot nicer than some of the other areas that I had been in that were similar, because she was in there probably, I'd say, like at least 5 years, and she really enjoyed it. So thank you for coming on. It was cool to hear kind of how things got started in the role that you played. For our business, I definitely think a lot of the same things you talked about are applicable for my small business. I own Simple and Sentimental, and we do personalized gifts. So anything from engagement gift boxes to baby shower gifts. We do a lot of godparent gifts, actually. So godparent gifts, yeah.
Got that, Tom?
Yeah, I got it.
Grandparents.
Yeah.
So we do quite a bit, and we do ship internationally, but most of our gifts are going to New York and California, even though we're based in North Carolina. And I really enjoyed kind of how you talked about your why. A lot of our gifts are meaning. Like, I actually did a recent customer survey and asked customers to share the 3 words that they most associate with the Simple and Sentimental brand. And the first one was personalized, and the second one was meaningful. And all of our gifts have a meaningful touch, whether it be that they're personalized or that they just, we create gift boxes that most people have not, similar companies have not created a gift box like ours. We're one of the top selling Etsy shops for gift boxes, and a lot of companies kind of follow what we do, which is, you know, I mean, I guess we're the first mover, but we do see some copycats. But one thing that, when it comes back to the why, I don't know if you're familiar with like love languages. But I did them in premarital counseling, and it turns out my love language is gift giving. So I love gifts, and I think the reason Simple and Sentimental has seen so much success is because I have so much passion for just like, you can ask my husband, like I give like the most insane gifts. I put so much time and effort into them, and I try to make people feel special and feel loved. So I definitely think that it really does play a role in how successful your business is. It's like how invested you are in the idea, and how much personal relation you have to it.
Yeah, I mean, you got a good why, right? So it's, you want to, you know, people feel great when they get a very personalized gift, and you're helping people feel great, you know, by enabling the gifting. So I like it. Did you like the video? Did you watch the Simon Sinek video, Taylor?
Yes. I've actually seen it a couple of times. I graduated from ECU's College of Business, and they love Simon Sinek. So I actually have his book is on my reading list, so I'm hoping to read it sometime. But I think it really does change a business from every aspect, to know what your why is and make sure your employees do too.
I think it's the most watched TED Talk ever.
Really?
Yeah, at least.
So Tom, you'll find this interesting, but I was with the dean of the College of Business, and it turns out that Ernst & Young, or EY, is a big supporter of the ECU College of Business, and they have Simon on retainer, and
Wow.
they're bringing Simon to ECU. I don't know exactly when. I'll let you know. Maybe you can come. But he, as Taylor just alluded to, he is really big in the ECU environment in terms of outside influence, and they hope to bring him to campus to do even more if he can.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, there's so many. Because I was a lawyer, so I never went to business school. So I think I kind of binged on these business philosophy books. So I would recommend that too. Especially if you sort of have a question, I guarantee there's a book addressing it. I've read all the Collins, Good to Great, and if anybody's interested, ping me an email and I'll suggest a book on the topic that you have a question about. But
Great.
A lot of smart people have thought about all these same issues and written some really good, sort of how-to books.
Yeah. Brady, I'm going to ask you to comment. Brady, you're younger guy. You've already sold one company even before you got to college, or right when you got to college. Do you have any questions for Tom that you think would be helpful to you?
Oh gosh. At the time, not really anything specific. I apologize. I was actually tabbed out doing a bunch of work for you. So I wasn't really paying too much attention.
Brady's my assistant. So
yeah, there you go.
You know who's doing the work, Tom. You know it's not me.
Sorry about that. I was kind of just listening in for my name if you needed anything. But
okay. No,
I'll rewatch the recording though and reach out.
Good. Okay, Sawyer, what do you have to say about this? Is there anything here for you?
Yeah, I definitely like the whole aspect of having your why. It needs to be pretty strong. If you don't have a good reason as to why you're doing what you do, then it's probably gonna fail. I get up every day and work out and take my pre-workout, and I take that pre-workout. I've been taking it for over 2 years, and I take it for a reason, because it's the cleanest on the market, and I have a strong why behind that, because whenever I got into taking pre-workouts and stuff like that, one of them made my hair start falling out. So I dove into figuring out what I was putting in my body. And now I'm trying to, get people on board with taking a healthier pre-workout. If, especially going to be taking it every day, they need to make sure they're going at it the most healthy approach. So don't have any random issues come about, and be aware of what they're putting in their body. So, having that why is definitely very important.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a personal story like that, my hair fell out. I took a bad product. I love that. I mean, I think this helps explain, what got you into it, and the problem you're trying to solve. And I mean, people love those personal origin stories.
Thank the Lord.
Sorry. Can you repeat that? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I was saying, thank the Lord, my hair came back.
At least in your picture it has. I can see.
Tom is looking for some of that stuff.
Yeah, I want that, man. I could use that.
I think you got a customer here. Hey, Darby, what do you have to say, Darby? Darby George?
Well, I'm a little jealous that the hair came back. I definitely don't have that. Definitely it's important that you have the why and you have the passion behind it. In previous jobs that I've had, they were just jobs. As far as where I am now, there's passion. I routinely get covered in goosebumps talking about it. So I think that's, a great sign of it. But yeah, very important.
Yeah, Darby was a nuclear engineer in the Navy, Tom.
Wow.
So he's been around Navy. Tom's father was a Navy officer, very successful, and so he's been around the Navy a good part of his life. So
yeah, he was a nuclear guy too.
I didn't realize that.
Nuclear surface ships are Rickover generation.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mostly served on submarines.
Mm.
Yeah. So that explains why Darby's picture is not visible, because he's used to slinking around in the dark in the submarine.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, does anybody else have anything they want to add or questions they have? Well, I know a bunch of people told me that they would have to watch the recording tonight for one reason or another. So I apologize they missed the opportunity, but we'll do this again when we know that we can have a full contingent. Is there any other questions for Tom or thoughts that you want to spread?
Not a question, but I can add into the why. That was, near the beginning of the meeting when I was paying more attention. But I can say, the participants know my background at least, and I'm pretty sure it's safe to say every program I've been a part of, every accelerator program, entrepreneurial education program, and honestly, majority of my mentors have all stressed the why as well. It's definitely the most impactful thing you could do, especially as far as branding goes. Just being able to help others too, if you could relate in that sense, you're helping others solve a problem at the end of the day. You may not see it as a problem, but for that, bride who has no clue where to get bridesmaids boxes from or how to go about doing it, you're solving a problem for her, So definitely just wanted to highlight the importance of that, and there's tons of studies out there that prove it as well. And I actually was on a call for a survey right before this with one of the professors from University of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and they're trying to figure out how to bring, how to make freshmen especially, dive into entrepreneurship. And one reason, or actually one question that he specifically asked me was, how do you give them the why? So they obviously aren't teaching the why over there, or they're not doing it effectively. And you could tell the difference because their student body isn't engaged in entrepreneurship versus ECU education, where they do stress the importance of the why. And entrepreneurship's booming here. So it's definitely really important to refine that.
Yeah, I don't think you can give somebody the why. I think you can just tell them they should search for it themselves. That's, Find Your Why is Simon Sinek's book. And he actually has a little checklist of things you should go through to sort of search inside and, what are you passionate about? But I'm glad it's becoming it's becoming a, accepted school of thought and accepted requirement for entrepreneurship that the why is mentioned. I don't think it would have, 20 years ago. So Simon Sinek's making a difference.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You can't give them the why themselves. I mean, you could help guide them to find it themselves. As with that, a lot of things with entrepreneurship. I mean, you can't just give them the answers, but I think, the best way you could go about helping others with entrepreneurship is helping guide them to find the answers at least. Because everybody's different, every venture's different in so many different ways.
Well, I know Tom can relate to this, but I sure had my why given to me when I played basketball as a kid. My coaches, that would, the why was no confusion there. but for life purposes, that kind of external motivation tends to wear out after a while. So that's important. Tom, can you talk just generally about funding startups in university environment? The ECU is really behind UVA and others that we've been involved in terms of angel funds. We do have an angel fund that just started this year at ECU. And do you have any general advice or comments on that subject for these young companies?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was involved, as you know, in the UVA, angel fund, and they did it partly for selfish reasons, is they want to attract better professors. And professors are inventing things and they're awful at commercializing their inventions. So UVA pays a higher share of royalties to the professor from anything they invent, which lured professors there. But then if there was never any royalties, it was worthless. So they came up with what they thought was a tech transfer program. They had a group of folks whose full-time job was to commercialize, UVA professor inventions, and that worked. I think they disbanded it ultimately into the Patent Foundation, but for super early startups, you need angels. You need an angel network. So they started their own angel fund, and I put some money in. Other kind of UVA alums did as well, and we did some investing. It was fun, sort of under the auspices of UVA. So I think every university should be thinking about how to commercialize inventions, products, services, something that's coming out of the university. And I think that it doesn't necessarily just have to be, ECU professor inventions. It could be for stuff like you guys are doing, helping. And I understand the purpose of this program. It's for rural Eastern Carolina. So you're helping the community. You're helping the entrepreneurs who want to make a difference in the community. Get from the why to something that is a real business. So every university ought to be thinking about it.
Yeah, I think in our case, one of the things we're looking at, I haven't talked to you too much about this, Tom, but there are some models of accelerators that have successfully, worked with angel funds or even created a little bit of an angel network themselves through mentors. And we actually have a fair number of mentors who have expressed interest in this to me, in our group. I think we have about 30 or 35 mentors, with some others maybe being considered in the future as our class size gets bigger and so forth. But yeah, I agree with you. It's the folks who know the companies, in the case of the local angels or local investors, know the people. That's really critical, especially if the business is not, as you described, it's not some revolutionary new product or service that no one's ever come up with. If you've successfully done that, money will beat a path to your door no matter where you're located. But we are working on that, and that's something that we'll continue to develop, and we'll lean on you, Tom, for your insights and your thoughts as we start to do that. We've been roughly running class for 3 weeks now, I guess it works out, and so we're still kind of learning what works and what doesn't work, and everything is done by Zoom, and everyone's getting sick of that, I know, but hopefully at some point we'll be able to get you down to Eastern North Carolina and get the nickel tour of Greenville and
Yeah.
and so forth. Tom's been to Pink Hill. He's one of the few.
I've been to Pink Hill. Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the few human beings who've actually been to Pink Hill. So I'm very proud of that. But
I think what's changed in the angel world is these almost institutional angel funds. So they've gotten big. I mean, there's one in Texas, there's the Piedmont Angel Network, and sort of Virginia, Carolina, and people like me who are mostly retired and still like keeping your hand in, you join one of these institutional angel funds. So I think there's more angel money now. I think it's more institutionalized in the sense that they have processes for receiving proposals. They'll run it through relatively quickly instead of having to just go friends and family. So that should be a help to entrepreneurs who are starting them now, have a good why and have good plans, good management. I think there's money available.
Fantastic. Well, folks, does anybody else have anything else for Tom? For today, I'm gonna wish everybody a good day, and thank you, Tom, for a really thoughtful presentation. And I had not been exposed to Simon Sinek before your TED Talk piece. I mean, so I've now ordered the book, and I'll become a maniac on Simon Sinek. But it's really good stuff, and I think I heard this story once before, and Simon talks about Orville and Wilbur Wright. We're here in North Carolina, not too far from where that actually took place, and there was this. I don't even know if this is true or not, but it's a great story. And so the New York Times, or it's actually a newspaper that preceded it, had a big conference at a fancy hotel in New York in 1903, and they had all these people come, and it was all about human flight and what was going to happen, and what kind of like this big conference of all these big brains. And the keynote speaker, and I can't remember his name, but he got up there and said that this is absolutely ridiculous. Man is never going to fly. It makes no sense at all. And he was a guy from one of the top schools. He just went on and on and on about what a bad idea this was. And the New York Times, or whatever the newspaper's name was, put it on the front page, and made a big deal out of this guy's prediction, because as Simon Sinek says in that video, everybody was trying to fly. It was the .com era. So that was on the front page. When you turn the page, on the bottom in a little tiny column, it said Wright brothers fly in North Carolina.
That's great.
So, that pretty much illustrates the point, that if you've got the why and you can get it together to make it happen as a business, or even a nonprofit or some other entity, I'm not against nonprofits. Then there's lots of room for you in the country and in the world.
Totally agree.
All right, Tom. Well, thank you.
Nice being with you guys.
Yeah, we'll see you later. Thanks so much, everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tom.